Okay. Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you to all who have jumped on this evening. It is 7 p.m. in Pacific. We've got people on from around the world. So I wanted to thank you, first of all, for your time. I am so excited for tonight to have such a phenomenal group panel of physicians and naturopaths to be able to talk specifically about Q Sciences and really what we have here to offer. We know, and I want to quickly get myself out of the way. For those who don't know me, my name is Jessica Wright, and I live in San Diego, California. I am so grateful to be able to tonight to have introduce the panel that we have on. That is, I was adding up the years, and I believe we have, well, definitely over 100 years of experience in both the healthcare side and the natural holistic side. Our panel tonight will consist of a naturopath, scientist, editor-in-chief of WebMD for 13 years, Dr. Kimberley, Stephen Kimberley. If we have him on, it's just going to be, just heard that there may possibly be that Dr. Kimberley will not be able to join us. So Dr. Kimberley, if you do come on, please just send me a message and let me know that you're on.
I'm here.
Excellent. Hi, Dr. Kimberley. Great. It's good to see you. Thanks so much.
All right.
Again, it's nice to meet you. My name is Jessica Wright, and after 34 years, I think most of the panel have been in healthcare and in natural medicine for integrative medicine for over 35 years. In the 34 years that I have worked in healthcare and the last 10 in oncology clinical research with some of the best minds. I don't think this is recording, so 1 second here. Want to make sure that we are recording. I know a lot of people, sorry, 1 second here. Control R. Marielle, maybe you can hit record and it will allow you to do that. Sorry. Anyway, what I was saying. Thanks. Hi, Marielle. Thank you.
Request record permission from the meeting host. Sorry, it's not letting me.
Okay. Let me see here about recording. I am trying to hit Control R. Sorry, guys, 1 second here. The wonderful thing about technology. There we go. I've got it right there. Excellent. Okay. As I was saying, in the many years, 34 years of healthcare and the last 10 in clinical research and having a thriving cancer coaching business, professional coaching business, I've worked with many, many great minds, and I'm telling you that this panel that we have tonight is as good as it gets. So what I would like to do is introduce each of the panel and just ask a few questions, and then I'll pass it on to the next. So thank you for letting me pick your bright mind tonight. I'm going to start with Dr. Fred Valdez, coming to us from Florida, USA. Dr. Fred, are you on? You can unmute yourself there, or possibly I can unmute you if I can find you.
Yes,
okay.
I'm on.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Fred. Well, I wanted to turn it over to you first for you to introduce yourself of who you are and why you have decided to endorse Q Sciences.
It's a pleasure, Jessica. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here with so many brains, so many smart people. I'm not one of them, But my background, basically, I did emergency medicine for many years, trained in ER, and then always had a mind for wellness. I've been involved in the wellness industry for over 26 years or so. Of course, I started when I was 10 years old. And that's just a joke, okay? I've been on the advisory board for a couple of companies during my journey. And, after researching, talking to some people, researching the products, I was really, really attracted to Q Sciences and made a decision to be part of the company based on not only the personal experiences that I've had from the products, but based on the research behind the products, on the number of products, peer-reviewed studies, and that makes a huge, huge difference in the industry. So, in brief, that's about it.
Excellent. Thank you, Fred. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Ranga Premaratna, who is coming to us from Sydney, Australia, down under. And Dr. Ranga, I've got to tell you, I'm just thrilled to have you on. I want to quickly again get out of the way, Dr. Ranga, and are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm unmuted here.
Hi, Dr. Ranga. Yes, we can hear you great. Thank you.
Again,
Excellent.
It's a great pleasure and privilege to be part of this panel. And just quickly, my background is in food and nutritional science, and I've worked in the academic research field for about 8-9 years in food microbiology, medical microbiology, biotechnology area. And after overcoming health crisis using just natural methods and meditation, I decided to quit my academic position and migrated to Australia. And since '91, I have been operating a nutritional medicine, natural therapy clinic, and also a retail store, and been helping a lot of people. So I get many products that have come my way, and I always look at three aspects of safety, efficacy, and accessibility. Accessibility is to the scientific board, or to get the information necessary for me to be confident about the product. And with Q Sciences, I was quite impressed with all the clinical studies and the formulation. I'm still very new to the range, and I just started only about 1 week ago to take it. And I can feel, because I'm used to meditation and more subtle energy effects, I can feel a subtle sense of well-being since I started taking it. And I'm generally quite healthy, and I can feel there's an enhancement. So I'm very, very grateful for this introduction to this company, and I'm looking forward to working with the rest of the panel as well as the other participants.
Thank you, Dr. Ranga. Is there a product so far that you are, or any one thing that you could point to that you are most excited about for your patients?
Yeah, I mean, Q96 obviously is the primary formula, but I am very interested in the prime because of the glycocalyx, which not many people know about. But when I heard it, because of microbiology, I know that glycocalyx is a protective layer in bacteria, and I've worked with similar structures like S proteins in Listeria, looking at scanning electron microscopy to study those things. So I was excited to find something about it, and now I'm doing more research into learning more about the formula and how the ingredients help this structure. So that's one of the things I'm quite excited about.
Excellent. Well, I'm quite excited about it too. Thank you, Dr. Ranga. And that leads to our next on our panel, Bob Long. Bob, if you're able to unmute yourself. Bob is actually the formulator of Q Prime. And Bob and I got to have a conversation the other night, and I was absolutely fascinated by learning more about, I'm a science nerd. I know a lot of, we do have health practitioners on the line. So we're going into a little more science detail than we regularly would. But Bob, And I had a phenomenal conversation the other evening, and just learning. I could listen to you all night, Bob, talk about the glycocalyx and what you've got going on with the glycocheck. So, Bob, I'm going to turn it over to you for you to please let us know what about Q Prime, please.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here and share some information about Q Prime. I think it would be best to kind of start, if I back up 2 steps and give people a little bit of an overview about why we need Q Prime. So really, Q Prime is focused on a new category of health, but most people haven't really given much attention to or thought about. Most people are familiar with, when we say the vascular system, they know the vascular system. It's the large arteries and veins. And then if we say the microvascular system, that starts to become a little more outside the range of what most people know about. So let me just give you a little background from a physiological point of view, so you'll have a sense of what we're talking about, and then I'll explain the implications of how Q Prime works and why we need it. So most people are surprised to learn that our large arteries and veins only comprise about 1% of the total volume area where blood flows in our body, and that really 99% of our blood flows out into the smallest vessels and really down into the capillaries. In fact, in the capillaries, they estimate there are over 60,000 miles of capillaries that blood flows through. And those capillaries, that's how all of the nutrients are delivered to every organ, to every cell, to every muscle, to all the tissue in your body. And that's also how the oxygen and the hormones are delivered. And so if you think of your circulatory system as a closed plumbing system, you've got the side that pumps the blood out, and that's how everything's delivered. And so up until now, most of the medical science or most of the medical treatments have been focused really on the blood and the large arteries. So if you think about it, you know, they focus on the blood. Let's lower the cholesterol. Let's lower the fat. Let's lower the glucose level. And then at some point in time, your arteries become so bad that what the current best therapy is to go in and put a stent in if they become blocked. But what nobody thinks about is that over the course of many, many years, all this damage has been going on for as many as 20 or 30 years. Mm-hmm. So what we now know as a result of research, my partner and I, Dr. Hans Vink, Dr. Vink, by the way, is one of the leading microvascular research scientists in the world. And what he's been focused on for about 30 years now is a protective gel lining that basically is a systemic organ throughout your entire body. It lines your entire vascular system. It basically is around every cell in the body. It's in your small intestine. So basically, it's a protective coating that's throughout your entire body. And he's actually the person that got the first visual pictures that proved to the world that there was indeed a glycocalyx inside of your smallest capillaries.
Wow.
And so he developed a medical device that he and I now own a medical company. The device is called GlycoCheck. And that device is now being used in over 85 research hospitals throughout the world. And we have about one peer-reviewed paper being published about once a quarter now. And what it's doing is establishing the link that really a compromised microvascular system. So when all of these really small vessels, these capillaries, become leaky, they start to break down and lose their function. And you start to get early warning signs. Most people don't realize that type 2 diabetes is really a microvascular disease. High blood pressure is a microvascular disease. Erectile dysfunction, severe PMS, cold hands and feet due to poor circulation, leg cramps, certain types of skin problems like psoriasis and different things that you'll see are all related to a poor microvascular system. Some types of hair thinning, particularly in women, where you'll see that they'll get really thin hair. That we're finding that's linked to a compromised microvascular system. Fatigue, lack of focus, memory loss. We even know that a lot of emotional and mental problems and even dementia is related to poor circulation and the inability to get blood to the brain. And even some types of hearing loss and certain types of eye problems like dry eye, etc., all are picked up early in the microvascular system. And so with this GlycoCheck device, we're able to understand early and see the correlation that as the microvascular system breaks down, or if you think of this delivery system, as it becomes compromised, then what happens is literally your organs start to starve. And so you can take all of the supplements you want, you can do all the different things that you can do, but if you think about it, if you compare it to a freeway, and so if you take the large freeway, you've got the freeway with the big roads, and then you get off onto the frontage roads, and then you get onto the feeder roads. Ultimately, you get to the driveway to get up to your house. That's how your blood breaks down to get these nutrients out to all the organs in your body. And so what we've been focused on is understanding and creating a whole new category related around microvascular health and the health of a glycocalyx. And so what we now know is this protective gel lining called the glycocalyx breaks down over time. And as it breaks down, it starts a spiral of conditions. And so as it breaks down, the capillaries actually become leaky and they start to lose their function, and the number of functional capillaries actually decrease. And that's when these early warning signs that I talked about actually start to begin. And so this vital delivery of the nutrients, hormones, and oxygen, and also the removal of waste and carbon dioxide is really compromised. And so this is what leads to organ starvation. And so this is all research that's linking pretty much every major disease that you see. Everybody knows it all comes back to inflammation. And that inflammatory response is really controlled and regulated and prevented in the glycocalyx. And so we don't have a lot of time tonight. They only gave me 10 minutes, but in a week or 10 days, I'm going to do an in-depth, probably a 2-week series and go through the physiological science and explain to you how the body works and how the glycocalyx works, what its physiological function is. And so I'd encourage you to look at the videos that we've produced. There were 3 of them. We did our best to try to simplify and help you understand the role of the microvascular system and the glycocalyx. And so we now know that when this microvascular system breaks down, it's definitely linked to diabetes, hypertension, heart disease is an obvious one, kidney disease, strokes, dementia. You know, in critical care, I think a couple of the doctors mentioned one of the guys mentioned he was in ER. So sepsis is a total breakdown of the glycocalyx, which leads to total inflammation. And even with the best science we have today, believe it or not, 50% of the people that develop sepsis in the hospital, if they can't stop it, 50% will die within a few hours, within a few days of developing it if they can't reverse that infection. There's all kinds of inflammatory disorders. that are related to a compromised microvascular system. So rheumatoid arthritis, vasculitis, certain types of allergies, all the autoimmune diseases, scleroderma, arterial sclerosis. So any inflammatory disease all comes back and is tied to a breakdown of it and a compromised glycocalyx. And also in some of the studies that we're in now, we also know even cancer, the uncontrolled growth of tumors or cancer metastasis is really a result of a compromised glycocalyx. And when that glycocalyx breaks down, the cells lose that protective ability, which allows them to multiply and go unchecked. And so, as I mentioned, Dr. Vink developed the GlycoCheck, and I became very familiar with his work about 9 years ago, and I had the idea that what if I could develop a nutritional supplement using natural ingredients that could rebuild the structure and integrity of the glycocalyx, and that's what I set out to do. And so once I understood the science and the physiological function and the mechanism of action of the glycocalyx, then I was able to understand potentially what compounds may have a physical effect and improve the glycocalyx. And I met Dr. Vink about 6 years ago after I developed my first formula, and I sought him out because I wanted to be able to get measured with his GlycoCheck device to see if I was on the right track. And so we met, he measured me and was shocked to see the results that I was getting on myself. I scored one of the best scores, if not the best score of anyone he had ever measured. And up until then, there wasn't, all he could really tell people is how the glycocalyx broke down. And he was interested in the so what, which is what do we do about it? And so really the Q prime, and I'll just explain this and end, is based on three things that we do. We restore the glycocalyx, and we do that with sulfated polysaccharides. We rejuvenate the protective barrier of the glycocalyx, and we do that with amino sugars. And then we also then protect the glycocalyx with the same natural antioxidants that your body produces, which are actually reside in the glycocalyx. And that formula we put together and the synergistic action is so unique, and the method of treatment that we've created relative to the glycocalyx, we were just granted a US patent 2 months ago. So this formula is now patented, and we have patents pending in every major country throughout the world. So this is truly a unique formula, and we're seeing fantastic results, improving all kinds of health situations related to the conditions I talked to you about. So thank you, and I'll talk to you in about 10 days on the next broadcast.
Thank you so much, Bob. The Q prime and the glycocalyx is so fascinating. The story behind it and how it developed is, I tell you, I'm very much looking forward to that in 10 days. And congrats on the patent. So our next guest is, hopefully I can do you justice, Dr. Kimberley. Dr. Kimberley is an internist who also specialized in integrative and holistic medicine, and then went on to be chief editor-in-chief of WebMD for 13 years before retiring to head up as the chief scientific officer for Q Sciences. We have, there's, you only need to go into a GNC or a any drugstore and you see a ton of supplements. You see supplements coming across probably your advertisement on your Facebook, et cetera, all the time. So really the question is, what sets these supplements apart from supplements that you can buy from, a company online or Amazon or GNC, etc. With that, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Kimberley. And Dr. Kimberley, you get, please talk about whatever's come to your mind and that you want to tell us about. And then I'm going to turn it over to Marielle. And you are muted, Dr. K. So let me, either you can unmute yourself or I can.
Yeah,
there we go. Perfect. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. No, you did an excellent job of introducing me. And yeah, I mean, even in medical school and in college, I was researching and utilizing natural medicine, nutraceutical supplements. And 1979, I gave a grand rounds at UCLA on tryptophan therapy, and this was before anybody was talking about amino acid therapy. So I go way back. And it's interesting you mentioned GNC, because I've consulted with Tazo Tea, Stash Tea, making their formulas, and when I was with Tazo, a friend of mine started it. We made a formula for GNC, a great herbal formula, and they basically let it sit because the corporation couldn't figure out where to put it on the shelf or whatever. So that's their level of commitment and understanding. So I have been with Q Sciences from day one, and she mentioned I retired. Well, I didn't retire because I work every day of the week for Q Sciences, answering questions, working on formulas, etc. And as Chief Science Officer, my job is to make sure that we have absolutely the best products that can be made, and that they address the right areas and that they have the right ingredients. And so the first product they brought to me, of course, was Q96, and I approved it without a shadow of a doubt. And since then, we've had the opportunity, I don't know in Australia if you have Q Max yet, but it's our methylated Q96, which was my concept and my tweaks to the formula. And it's really great because it does have the methylated folate and B12, but it has all the rest of the advantages of Q96, which is the chelation and the micronization, etc. And the other formula that is my baby, well, a lot of them are, but is Q Vitalize. And we created a men's and a women's Q Vitalize. And it is a fantastic formula. It's something I've been working on really for 30, 35 years in discovering which herbs are the best adaptogenic herbs in the world and how to combine them in the right amounts with the right amino acids to get an increase in personal vitality and overall body health. And it's a great formula, and you really should try it. The women's formula addresses women's issues, menopause, PMS, all the stages of a woman's life, and the men's formula addresses all the men's issues, including prostate, libido, etc., and muscle, and it works wonderfully. Now, you asked a very good question. What separates us from the herd? Well, the herd is incredibly unimaginative, and really, every day I go to the supplement store, several of them, and or the grocery store, and look at the products to see what the competition is doing, even though I wouldn't even call them competition. They're not even in the same ballpark. First of all, all the pharma, all the big companies making Centrum, et cetera, those are bad formulas. And to give you an example, they came out with the idea, GNC and et cetera, back in the 80s to make B vitamins B10, B25, B50, B100 even. And that not only is ridiculous scientifically, It makes no sense whatsoever because each B vitamin is a completely different molecule. And if you balance them numerically by assigning 50 milligrams of each one, you end up with a definite deficiency of niacinamide, of B6, etc., because you've ramped up the metabolism of the cell with an imbalanced formula, which in essence throws the whole body off. And unfortunately, the public, not really understanding, thinks, wow, this one must be better because it has twice as much in it. But this is megavitamin therapy, which is harmful to the body. So what we've done is provide a very balanced set of B vitamins and minerals. And the nice thing is because of the chelation, the minerals, which would normally be in their natural state, they could be alkaline and clunky, have been micronized and chelated. And the result is in an organic broth. And this is the hot ticket because it really ferments things and kind of puts the natural back in there. And what this is in essence is creating acidic salts of these minerals, slightly acidic. And this is what the body wants. So when you take them, the body just absorbs them immediately because it sees them as nutrition. When you take a clunky, basically a piece of rock, alkaline mineral in a Centrum or whatever, the body doesn't really want to absorb it because it's not in the pH form that it associates with nutrition. The herbal complexes at I won't say all, but most companies produce, again, they use, for example, they go, well, this is an herbal formula that's got 30 herbs in it. Well, it might as well have none, because if you take a homeopathic dose of each herb, you're not going to get any lasting benefit or temporary benefit. In our case, for Q Vitalize and our other formulas which have herbs or anything, we use an effective dose. So we're not acting as if, oh, we hit all those notes, when in reality, they didn't hit any notes. So by taking an effective dosage of Q Vitalize, for example, you have to take 5 capsules. And the reason you have to take 5 capsules is because that's how much room you need. And you can even take up to 10 capsules and you even get more benefit because you can do that. I added tyrosine, which is a fantastic amino acid, which goes directly to dopamine and adrenaline, and that's great for reducing stress, ensuring that your body has the raw material to produce neurotransmitters. And the Q Vitalize and Q96 or Q Max, both of these, plus Prime, etc., really boost the levels of neurotransmitters, and it regulates the levels of neurotransmitters. And I'm talking about dopamine, adrenaline, acetylcholine, serotonin, etc. So the end result is you have a much better level of health. And throughout the day, you have appropriate energy, and at night you can sleep. And for example, another example, Q Omega. So we got the highest quality fish oil. We added flax oil because it adds another omega that fish doesn't have. And there's an advantage because it makes it kind of a time release. And then we added dimethyl aminoethanol, or DMAE, because it's a fantastic supplement for the brain and has been shown to improve test scores by itself in older individuals, as well as acetylcholine, which is similarly a specialized form of acetylcholine that really works well with the essential omega fatty acids to improve their entrance into the brain and their utilization. for all the great things they do throughout the body. Another example is Qbiotics. Now, Qbiotics has 4 billion of the best microbes, probiotics in each tablet. But we have people who come in and say, well, I can go down to the health food store and buy one that has 40 billion. Well, taking 40 billion dead bacteria is not going to help you much. And the difference is the reason we only have 4 billion is the most important part of any probiotic, really, and especially in this application, is that there's a double patented gel matrix which protects the bacteria, and so the bacteria are more alive. And all it takes is a little bit of moisture, and the gel starts to expand, the bacteria wakes up, and when you take it in your mouth, it passes through the acid barrier in the stomach with the bacteria alive. If you take 40 billion bacteria, take it even with food, the acid in your stomach will kill all of it. So this makes a huge difference in establishing the right biome, the right bacteria in your colon, in your lower intestine, where the benefits are reaped. So I think you can see at this point that we take great care in selecting, creating our products, manufacture everything, right, top to bottom, really high quality company. And just to give you an example, I put Zembrin, which is an extract, a patented extract from Silesium tortuosum, which is a wonderful South African herb that has the benefits of increasing your energy and calming you down, which is great, right? And so we were putting 50 milligrams, which is a good strong dose, in each 5 capsules of Q-Vitalize. And so when Mark said, yeah, we can do that. He said, Dr. K, it's $4,000 a pound, a kilo. And I said, oh, wow, does that mean we can't do it? And he said, no, we're going to do it. You say it's what we need, we're going to do it. And that's indicative of what kind of a company this is. It's really vastly different from any other company I've seen. It's just really good people doing great things and working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kimberley. Thank you. For our participants that are on, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to write your questions in the chat, and we can hopefully get some of the questions answered as well. And for those on who are wondered what scientists talk about when when they're in a group, well, if it went a little bit over your head, that's okay. We have a lot of scientific people and health practitioners on the line, and this is really geared towards health practitioners. But as I said, I know we have non-health practitioners on as well. So I want to introduce Marielle Filipponi, who I can't say enough wonderful things about Marielle and just her background in health and wellness, and just really knowing what is truly quintessential. And so, Marielle, I would love for you, thank you for being a part of this panel as well, and you can translate everything that you just heard into lay terms, okay?
Oh, that was awesome. Dr. Kimberley, Bob, of course, our guest speaker, Doctors Fred, and I cannot.
Dr. Ranga.
Thank you, Dr. Ranga. Sorry. I have lots of notes, so thank you very much. And I don't know that I'll understand my notes, but I've been in the health and wellness industry for 16 years, more specifically for nutrition and, meals and supplementation, more for weight management and things like that. And I've helped people lose a lot of weight. I've helped, pre and postnatal moms, and again, 16 years of training and running my own locations and businesses where I was the sole owner of a franchise. And we had yoga studios and Pilates studios and bar studios. So that's the world I know. And of course, along came with that, supplements. And luckily here at Q Sciences, it's the micronutrients and supplements that your body can actually recognize and break down and absorb. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that when you're looking at what's different and how do I understand what's different out there, I was really drawn to the fact time and time again that I felt different on these products. And I was drawn to the fact that they were doing things differently, because when I went on a quest this last year to look at what was out there in this space, this is the company that was doing things very differently, the only company. In fact, I went as far as Asia. I flew to Hong Kong twice. I went all around the United States many, many, many times into Salt Lake City, Utah. And I was able to study and have a team that I really respect look at the fine detail of what was happening here. And I am just super grateful for the opportunity that, we get to take people from not knowing to knowing that this opportunity exists and this product line exists, more importantly. And I think that's really the blessing here for all of us. And I'm a businesswoman, so at the end of the day, it's a good business decision to be a part of a company that nobody's really heard of yet. Less than 1,600 distributors for all of 2017, I believe was the number that I was told. And 3 weeks ago, there were 2,500 distributors, and now I believe as of June 1st, 5,000. I believe we'll have 7,000 within the next 10 days. I really see the momentum happening right before my eyes, on not just people, experiencing an amazing product line and what the products are doing for their insides, their health, their wellness, how they're feeling and they're functioning at a more optimal level. But also you see the referral side to it. You see the opportunity. Whenever there's a product line that people have to have, and they've called you crying that these products have changed their life and they can't go without them, that there's an opportunity attached to that. Mm-hmm. And there's even bigger opportunity when you are the one that brings this to your network and shares this with your loved ones. So that's what I'm excited for from the business standpoint. I love that there were peer-reviewed medical journals. These doctors know a lot more, obviously, than what I know, and how these supplements, permeate and get through and, obviously deliver throughout our capillaries and all of those wonderful things. And glycocalyx, if I said that right. I've done a lot of research on that now in the last 6 months that I've been studying. And I've really become more of a student, and I have a long way to go. But what I see firsthand and foremost is for 16 years, I have had the same clients. Some of them are very, very loyal. There's about 28 of them, in fact, that I see on a weekly basis. And I help them with their training, and I help them with their meal planning and things like that. And they've come a long way with me. I've introduced this line to them, and almost every single one of them has started. There's only a couple that haven't yet. And they are blown away with the results. So of course now, the rest of them want to try. Those are just the ones that have been with me for 16 years. I have clients that have been with me for 13 years, 6 years, 8 years. And the amount of changes that they're experiencing in their energy and their mood, in overall, wellness, and what their doctors are saying with their blood work is truly remarkable. And we don't make any claims, of course. We're not a pharmaceutical sales company. But I was not paid to come to this company. I was not, a bot, I should say. I did leave a very successful opportunity and network marketing company that I was a part of for 5.5 years. And my husband and I definitely were top income earners globally. We had operations in our team in 9 different countries. I've traveled all over the world. And some people thought I was maybe nuts to leave. And but I will have to say that it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. The last 90 days, I could start crying, have been truly remarkable, and not just for the income. Those of you that know me a long time, that's not what I'm driven by. I'm truly driven making a difference in people's lives of course, financially, but people that can get out of bed, people that can go to work, people that have energy and better sleep, and that are actually able to function, and are able to lose some pesky pounds that they haven't been able to lose, that without starving themselves. That's an opportunity in itself to be able to change a lot of lives. So I'm very passionate, very heart forward, and sharing this company, this opportunity with each and every person I can, and talk and speaking with everyone that I can, and asking people 2 simple questions. If there's one thing you could change about your health, what would it be? Because I know we have the products that can help. The second question I ask is, if you could improve your sleep or energy, which one would it be? Usually people choose one or the other. And I know firsthand that we've got the best product line for those things, and for a list and a whole slew of things that, Bob Long was able to kind of mention how many things. The list gets longer and longer with people coming to us saying, do you know what's helping me with this? Do you know what's helping me with that? Well, that's because your insides are finally functioning the way they're supposed to. They're finally getting the micronutrients that they need and that they're lacking, and we're able to prove that. There's a lot of science behind that. So I'm super, super grateful. Thank you for having me on. We would love to get any more of your questions answered, and definitely take a serious look at being the first one to bring this opportunity to your friends and family, your doctors, and any medical health professionals, of course. And it doesn't have to be just in that industry as well. We have teachers and police officers and firemen and people that own their own small businesses. Like I heard from a couple of yoga instructors today. Anyone and everyone wants to make 2018 and beyond their healthiest year and become their healthiest selves. And we know with the exclusive science and patents here, we can make that possible for them. So we would love to answer any more questions. Get back with the person that introduced you to this, and let's hop on a one-on-one, maybe a private call, to help navigate which next step you'd like to take in your Q journey with us. Thank you, Jessica, for having me on.
Thank you, Marielle. Thank you so much. There were a few questions that came in, so if we can have our doctors unmute their phones, and we can answer a few of the questions that came in. We're not going to go much longer, so if there are any questions that don't get answered, we are recording this, and we do have a list of questions, and we can definitely get back to the person who asked the questions. One of them, which is a great question for Dr. Kimberley, is I'm not good at taking pills. Can we take Q-Core Max and Vitalize out of the capsule and add to a drink, etc., to take, except for the probiotic and the omega, which are not capsules? For you,
Yeah.
Dr. Kimberley.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, it's a great question. And the good news is that, yes, you can. Now, I will say that I generally recommend that people take QMax 296 about 15 minutes before they eat. And the reason I do that, and the same for Q Vitalize, although it's not as crucial there, but the reason I say that is because amino acids need to be absorbed to be effective. And if you're taking an amino acid with a protein meal, there's competition to get into the brain and to get absorbed. So it's better to take it a little bit before a meal, and that way it's still effective. So if you're going to put it in a drink, don't put it in a smoothie with a bunch of yogurt or whatever. It's okay to take it with a banana or some fruit juice or some tea. Tea'd be great, but it will still be absorbed and still do you a lot of good.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Another question that came in was about, and again, for everybody that's on, I think it's a common knowledge that, we've been talking about research, we've been talking about different diseases, and as a supplement, as a nutraceutical, that we are not making any medical claims about any diseases whatsoever. That is our research, but we are overall better mental health and physical health. Next question came in is for Bob. Will prime be made with the fermented corn rather than shellfish for those who have allergic to shellfish?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Bob.
Yes, my original formula was fermented corn as the source of glucosamine sulfate. And so Q Sciences in the latest formula that's being produced right now has gone back to the fermented corn as the source for the glucosamine sulfate, which makes the Q Prime a complete vegetarian formula. So all of the ingredients are all from natural fruits or vegetables, seaweed, and it's a clear veggie capsule. So it's as close as you can get to veggie.
Excellent, excellent. Question for Dr. Kimberley again. Should a woman who has a hysterectomy take Women's Vitalize?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, that is the perfect situation, because I've included black cohosh and dong quai, which are excellent herbs for gently stimulating the estrogen receptors. And when a woman goes through menopause, the symptoms are because they have no estrogen anymore. And phytoestrogens contained in these herbs glom onto the receptor just a little bit. They stimulate the receptor a little bit, and that doesn't increase any cancer chances or anything like that, but it does really modulate the menopausal symptoms. And in fact, we have someone working on a study with chemo brain, and women have gone through chemo and actually go through menopause, and as my wife did. And she and everybody else I talk to say they have almost no menopausal symptoms when they use Q Vitalize regularly.
Excellent. Well, I can say that my hot flashes are gone. So so I'm a believer. I'm forever grateful for that. So thank you. Bob, question came up about peer-reviewed studies articles on Prime. You and I talked about that. So can you give us a little bit more about the peer-reviewed studies and articles on Prime?
Yeah, I can make available, I think there are over 35 published papers specifically on the science of the glycocalyx and the glycocheck device that we have that I was mentioning, that we're getting about one peer-reviewed paper published in a major medical journal a quarter. The Q Prime formula has been out about 3 months. Or excuse me, 3 years, not 3 months. And so we actually are in several peer-reviewed double-blind studies right now that are being paid for by either NIH. We have a major study that's being funded by the Dutch government and the Dutch Diabetes Association and the Dutch Kidney Foundation. It's a 4-year double blind. It's actually 3 different subjects or 3 different groups of people. So that's into its 2nd year. We do have some other studies. We can't release the results yet because they're confidential and they're pending peer review before they're published.
Okay, excellent. And then we'll take one more question. The questions have been flying in, and I love it. For those women who with breast cancer who are ER/PR hormone positive, I know as a cancer coach, one of the first things I do with my patients, my clients, is to make sure that we've checked hormone levels, thyroid, progesterone, estrogen, et cetera, and always recommend Q Vitalize to balance hormones. Can we discuss that as far as in breast cancer patients who are hormone receptor positive? Is Women's Vitalize safe?
Yes, it is. And that's a great question. It's one I get fairly regularly. And there are some out there who say that phytoestrogens, which are in, tofu and, so many things that are in our diet, etc. The theory is that stimulating the estrogen receptor is going to, cause the cancer to come back. But that has been proven to be not to be the case, and that black cohosh and dong quai and most other herbs are perfectly all right. There's really no herb that could possibly stimulate the estrogen receptors sufficiently to increase the risk for recurrence. And I'm saying that from a guy whose wife had breast cancer and is now 12 years free and has been taking Q-Vitalize pretty much all along the way. So
I might want to add one thing to that. And those of you that are on the call will want to definitely be on the call when I talk about the science behind Q prime and the physiological function of the glycocalyx. But for example, with cancer, if you think about the drugs that people are given with chemo and radiation and all of those things that happen, what really happens is that also has a huge impact in wiping out the natural protective barrier of the glycocalyx. And so Q prime is absolutely essential to rebuild that protective systemic organ throughout your entire body to get it back into its natural harmony so it can ward off all the different attacks that it's constantly under.
Yeah, a good way to think of this is imagine a key. The receptor is the lock and the substance is the key. And if estrogen is the actual key that opens the door or increases breast cancer risk, if there's nothing blocking that keyhole, it will, any estrogen that's there, and some women definitely estrogen is still produced in the body in very small amounts after chemo. But if you have something like the phytoestrogens in Q-Vitalize, it blocks the lock, but doesn't open the door. So then, the estrogen can't get in there. Oh, by the way, I answer questions for you on the Ask the Doctors function. And I can tell you that this company is blowing up because my mailbox is blowing up. So that's a good sign.
I can't even imagine what your mailbox looks like every day, Dr. K. Ask the doctors at qsciences.com. One of the most incredible parts of Q Sciences is having access to our scientists. It's just absolutely amazing. One last question that's popped up a few times, and then really I just want to say for the guests that are on that as far as any kind of malady that you may be experiencing or your child is experiencing. Again, we're talking nutraceuticals here. If your child is on a medication, I'm sure the last thing Dr. Kimberley wants to do is give, medical advice as to what we should do with the medications that we're on. So always go back to your treating physician and let them know that you have specific supplementation supplements that you would like to take, and if it is okay. But Dr. Kimberley, for those, I know we have the Q berries and bananas that comes in a shake, Q96 in a shake, which is great for kids, tastes delicious. It's I believe, a lower dose than the Q96. So for those kids that are a little got the ants in the pants and can't sit still, and are the one in the classroom that's getting kicked out, and they're throwing their pens up on the ceiling, and moms are getting a call from the school that, what are we going to do with your kid? Can we just address that real quick, and then we'll end in the Zoom.
Yes. I can't tell you how many success stories I have heard with parents, with kids with ADD, ADHD, autism, right on down the line. And again, we don't, as a physician, I can say these things. I can say, yes, this is what's making the difference. As ambassadors, you're somewhat limited in what you can say, but you can still say, kids with ADHD seem to do better, feel better, etc., when they take this. And that's the key. And we've heard that from Travis Wilson, Mark's son, who's an incredible attorney and all this stuff. So he knows where you're safe. Now, the berries and bananas, great. That's Q96. It works well for a lot of them. Because some children with these conditions may have the MTHFR gene defect, which makes them unable to methylate folate with their livers, they do better on Qmax. Now you say, well, they're really young. What are you going to do with the Qmax? Well, take it out of the capsule. Use 1 capsule, 2 capsules, depending on their size, and put it in some oatmeal, which is or applesauce, even better, or a smoothie, and give it to them.
Let me just add to that. We actually just revised the berries and banana formula. It will only be available as soon as it comes out in the next couple of weeks. The new version is the Qmax berries and banana version.
All right.
Works for 100% of the people. So
you should tell me these things.
It'll only be the Qmax berries and banana moving forward because of the MTHFR issue.
Awesome. That's the best thing. Excellent. Excellent. Well, again, thank you to our incredible panel of experts. Thank you, Marielle, for everything that you do for Qmax and us ambassadors here. We have recorded this. We can get that out to the teams. But again, thank you for jumping on to our guests. Please get back to the person who invited you on. Get your questions answered. For those questions that weren't, that we didn't get to address tonight, again, please go back to the person that invited you on. If you are an ambassador, ask the doctors at qsciences.com. I know, Dr. Kimberley, you might just kill me for giving that out. But, if your inbox wasn't full enough, anyway. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and everyone have a good rest of your day.